Today we're doing a review of the Goodridge G Series or G line 811. The 811 is the stainless steel outer braided line. There's also a Kevlar version, which is more or less similar to, I'd say, like one of your your black nylon lines. But for everything in this car, for the most part, it's all stainless steel braided. So I wanted to stick with the theme. What I needed for this setup, because it's a little bit unique, is I needed a flexible fuel line, but I didn't want to go with rubber, but I wanted the flexibility of rubber. So this is where the Goodridge line came into play. Right here, what we have is a good line, in my opinion. I've used them, and the Dash 6, and I've had a AN Fittings Direct fuel line in my car for a while, but I've recently changed the fuel setup over a little bit, and going with a shorter line to accommodate the fuel line going on to the opposite end of the fuel rail. So I wanted something with some flex, something that was similar to the flex of the rubber, and you can probably see this line flexes really, really well, like a rubber line. While if you go with a standard Teflon line, whether it be AN Fittings Direct, Air-Equip, Frigola, the line, they're both Teflon, but they're definitely a bit stiffer. The reason being is this line, the AN Fittings Direct line, like there's positives to both. The AN Fittings Direct line, it's stiffer. However, it's a lot more cost effective, especially if you're doing things for applications where the line does not need to flex like that. If you have a longer run, like for example, a power steering line here, if you've got pretty much just a straight line that you need to run, you don't really need any flex. That's where the cost effectiveness of the AN Fittings Direct line will come into play. The Goodridge line, much more expensive. You've got AN Fittings Direct, you'll probably spend, I would say, roughly a third of the cost building your lines with their Teflon lines and fittings compared to the Goodridge lines. But for special purposes, I decided to use the Goodridge line on fuel this time around because of the new setup. And then I'm redoing all the lines with AN Fittings Direct lines for power steering, catch can, and a few other miscellaneous pieces. So if you're looking into a flexible Teflon line, if you absolutely need the flex, Goodridge is the way to go. If you're looking to build a nice Teflon system, but also not break the bank either, AN Fittings Direct is definitely a company I would look at in terms of lines, fittings, and things of that sort. And just a quick explanation as to why the Goodridge line flexes, and some of the like everything but the Goodridge one is going to be, I'd say, the same stiffness, because I've ran Frigola lines. Those were also just as stiff as the AN Fittings Direct ones. The Goodridge line is a convoluted Teflon. It looks, I don't know if I have any around here, I probably do, but it looks similar to, let's see if we can grab, I'd be surprised if I didn't have any. There's an example. So it looks similar to like the convoluted line that's in like a plastic hose. There we go, perfect. On the outside, the difference, however, is that on the inside, unlike this, which matches the pattern with the ridges, the inside is smooth. The cost is much more expensive because it's a more expensive manufacturing process to have it convoluted on the outside, smooth on the inner, versus the the tooling that does it just running a straight line. So I'd say for specialty circumstances, go with the Goodridge. That's why I'm only running theirs for fuel, because if not, this system would be a lot more expensive to plumb. So hopefully that helped you guys out with some differences in the Teflon. As far as assembly goes, you're going to notice that there's a brass ferrule for everything but the Goodridge. Goodridge does not use a brass ferrule. It's very similar to assembling a rubber line. and you've got a long stem that's, you know, almost threaded all the way, I'd say, on the inside that feeds onto the inside of the hose for the and fittings direct line, there's no threading on it. That actually fits in. The brass ferrule goes on the outside edge of the line itself, and then that compresses, and you know, you have a compression fitting that keeps it in place. While this is a little bit different. There's no ferrule that compresses. When you start threading it in, it's kind of like a different pitch. It goes from like small to bigger as far as the thread goes, and that's what keeps the hose in place and also presses this outer edge against, you know, your silver fitting here. You can notice that this end is pre-crimped 45. The company in which I ordered this from, which was Fast Turbo, they did not have any of the 45 reusables in stock, so customer service there offered to crimp on a 45 for me. And since there wasn't any special clocking that I needed, considering there's going to be a straight on one end, you know, I was absolutely fine with that. You know, it's all one and the same. It's just that I do not have the opportunity to reuse this end like I would this one if, you know, that ever comes about. Hopefully I won't have to be making any fuel changes anytime soon. This will be, you know, it for the life of the car. So, any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe. I'm going to be putting up some more videos, of course, on, I would say, things that, you know, I haven't seen on YouTube before, or, you know, some technical stuff that might help people out that are also curious, or, you know, trying to get into, you know, customizing things as much as they can be, because, you know, it's fun. It's a fun thing. So, like I said, any questions, feel free to leave me a comment, and I'll try to reply to you as soon as possible. Thanks again. Bye.